So let's bring in here Andrew Scott, the Chief Executive of the media business Inside Asian Gaming, who's in Sydney this week at the Australasian Gaming Expo. Andrew, always good to chat to you. Is there any surprise in this decision, this deal finally having come to pass between the Hong Kong owners and the Star?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Ross, and good to be back in Sydney. Now, there's no surprise. Star's been wanting to do this deal for quite some time, and it's very clear that the current Chief Executive Steve McCann and his board have wanted to do this deal to simplify the company, offload a bit of debt, focus on the Gold Coast, and kind of walk away from the Brisbane assets. Now, Bally's, the incoming owners of Stars, one presumes, subject to regulatory approval, have previously expressed their opinion that they didn't want this to happen. But interestingly, in today's filing, it did say that Bally's had given their approval for this deal to go ahead, as did Bruce Matheson with his company as well. So that's an interesting one that I'd like to get to the bottom of, actually.
Yeah, so the interesting part about this is it means that the Star continues to operate the Queensland casinos. Now, of course, it's got to pass all the probity tests ongoing, but it also gets the Queensland, or rather the Gold Coast casinos. So ultimately, it still maintains the Star brand around Australia rather than giving up that Queensland casino, the Brisbane casino, potentially to crown its rival.
Well, according to the filing, it will eventually phase out of Brisbane. I mean, the whole intent of this is that they ultimately walk away from Brisbane but pick up 100% of the Gold Coast. So there's a bit of a swap going on here. The Far East Consortium and the other DBC, Destination Brisbane Consortium partner, Chow Tai Fook, have said, we'll take Brisbane off your hands, but we'll give you our interest in the Gold Coast. So they're kind of walking away from each other, with Star walking away with all the Gold Coast interests and leaving Brisbane behind. Now, as you say, Star will continue with a management contract on Brisbane for the time being, but according to today's filing, the ultimate idea is that Star ultimately walks away from Brisbane too, and a new operator is found for Brisbane. But as yet, we don't know who that is. But given there aren't too many casino operators in Australia, certainly of the size needed to run a property like that, it's a pretty short list of companies that could step in to do that role.
Yeah, and the one that is obvious starts with C, ends in N, and probably has got an ROW in the middle of it as well. Anyway, so just tell me about one other aspect of this. They got $54 million for this. They got that money earlier on. Now they've still got the operations in the Gold Coast. But they also potentially faced a $400 million penalty from the anti-money laundering agency AUSTRAC. What would that do to the business if that penalty was as large as many people predict?
Well, this is the big 800-pound gorilla in the room for Star. Crown had a similar situation and were fined $450 million by AUSTRAC. $400 million is a number that's being kicked around at the moment. Star, in the last time that they advised us, told us they only have $260 million in the bank, and the only reason they have that is the $300 million they got from Bally and Bruce Matheson, and they're burning through that at the rate of approximately, it would seem, about $1 million a day. So they couldn't even cover such a fine. So it'll be interesting to see what AUSTRAC does. Their behaviour was probably just as egregious as Crown, so you would expect a penalty in that order. But is AUSTRAC really in the business of sending Star broke? We don't know. One idea that is kicking around is perhaps that Star does get a very large fine, like $400 million, but gets a very long time to pay it. Perhaps even 5 or 10 years, they can pay it in instalments. That's something that might work for Star.
Okay, just a very quick one for you. The conditions inside casinos, the operations, they're still pretty rough, aren't they?
They sure are. It's not the industry that we saw in the 90s, the 2000s, or even the 2010s. It's only perhaps half as profitable, maybe 2/3 as profitable. But the business, the operating environment for casinos in Australia is not what it was. No junkets, no Chinese big high rollers, and a lot more rules governing their behaviour. So it's not as easy to make money as a casino as it used to be.
I'll tell you what, Andrew Scott, Chief Executive of the media business Inside Asian Gambling, as I say, in Sydney this week. Very opportune for us. And Andrew, always good to chat to you. Many thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, Ross.